are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
You have to be strong in today's world. Keep your focus and what you believe in, how to achieve all your dreams. Keep moving forward, never accept less than who you are. Live your best life. Be strong and free. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black.
Good afternoon, Bahamas, and welcome to the Hit Back. I'm your host, Nahaja Black. It is a beautiful day here in the 242. I hope that you are doing well, taking care of yourself, and living your best life today. So in the grand scheme of things, I'm hoping that all of our we have no technical issues today because my beloved BPL has done a number. And so I'm really excited about my guest today that we've been working on this for weeks. And then the devil got to step up. You know, this got to be the devil. But anyways, I speak all things, the positive into the atmosphere, that internet will stay up. My backup battery will work with me because, I'm rich. I ain't got no generator. So the Lord got to be with me. Amen, amen. I'm so excited about my guest today. It has been a long week. It has been a long few months. And all is well. All is well in the world, right? All is well in the world, I would say, because we are seeing some positive trends. We are seeing some changes, right? And so I'm hopeful. I can't be too eager, but I'm hopeful. And where the hope comes in is that, new agenda, new mandate, perhaps you will get some form of change, something that will be positive for the Bahamian people. And, of course, everyone who tunes into the show, that for me, guys, I want to know about the economy and the socioeconomics, so the social side of our economics, right? So how do we build up people, not just build or create wealth continuously for the few? How do we change the financial or the economic construct of the Bahamas, where we have for centuries been an island that reaps the reward for a few, right? Where pirates ruled the Caribbean. How do we then create economic empowerment for the Bahamian people at large? And that is all that we ask for, that the table be leveled, that the ground be leveled, that we are not the ones underneath, and there's the oligarchs, the political elites, and then everyone else. And so this is why, when a government says that they are the new day government, you just want to hope that the new day doesn't mean just any other day, same sort of behavior, but a new day meaning a new mindset, that they are beholden to the people and not to the few people who continue to behold or hold this country in their arms. So I can't wait to bring on. This is the first time I've ever had a chance to chat with Mr. Halkitis in this sort of vein. And so I'm very much looking forward to it. Ladies and gentlemen, the Minister for Economic Affairs, the one and only, Mr. Michael Halkitis. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Thank you very much, Nahaja. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I love your jingle.
Listen, you gotta work it when you're ready.
But it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to the show. As you said, we had a little technical difficulties, some power issues earlier today as well, and so I'm hopeful that all goes well this evening.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Yes. I gotta just send a special shout out to my IT person, who happens to be my wonderful husband. Today, he's pulled through. Look at God, won't he do it? Mm-hmm. Anyways, Minister, thank you so much for the show, for being with us today. We got to talk about the economy, man. We want to talk about the Bahamian people and myself in particular. I am a big picture type of person.
Yes.
Right? The big picture is, what are we doing? Mm-hmm. I know in your speech that you did in the House, and I have it with me because I enjoyed the speech. I thought it was, you were confident. You could tell you felt very confident in writing the speech. Mm-hmm. We got a lot of confident speech writers. So I wanted to know, reading it, there was a lot of things where we said we are doing. Mm-hmm. Right? You mentioned in the speech what we've already done. And let me just go through some of the things that you said. Hey, we've already done this. And I want to get to that right now as my child makes all this noise. Implementing and across the board, cutting VAT, lowering overall cost of living. You say you did that. Increasing social assistance to our vulnerable populations through the targeted intervention of the RISE program. You said you're doing that,
Yes.
right? Increasing pensions that will benefit retired civil servants. You said you're doing that.
Yes.
Returning to incremental pay increases for civil servants.
Yes.
You said you're doing that. And extending the unemployment benefit program with an additional $500 lump sum payment just in time for Christmas. You said you're doing that.
Yes.
Those are already in the works. They're already done.
In the works, the unemployment. Well, first of all, once again, good afternoon, everybody, and Nahaja, good afternoon to your audience. We have extended the National Insurance Unemployment Program was due to expire at the end of September. We've extended it to the end of the year. And in December, everyone who was receiving benefits under that program will receive an additional $500. We expect to have the RISE, the debit card associated with the RISE program ready for January. And the increments we will, whenever it comes to public service increments, there are sometimes some individuals within there that require a little more work than anybody than some others. For example, we have to make sure that everything is tracked, and so there's always some conversation with the unions to make sure that everything's fine. But we expect that to go smoothly and do that in January.
So when we look at all of these things, so these are the things that we are looking. If you're just tuning in, Minister for Economic Affairs, Michael Alkeid, is joining us on the show. All of these things are good initiatives. I think that folks no one would say that they are terrible initiatives. And I want to get to at one point, we're going to discuss what VAT, this cut in VAT, though 10% overall reduction. Folks, we are awake and saying, but there are certain things that are going to go up in price, right? So we know that certain things are going to go up to 10% that were zero rated. And I want us to discuss that for sure.
Yes.
But I know a break is coming soon, so I don't want to dive into that yet.
Okay.
What I want to ask, though, is paint a picture for us the overall economic philosophy of this administration.
Okay. Overall, we believe that that benefits come from growing the economy and also deepening participation in the economy. So, for example, we do not believe that we should be in a constant program or a constant process of taking from one person and giving to the other. But how do we grow the size of the pie? And how do we make sure that there can be participation? And those who traditionally have been left out, how do you assist them in getting involved? How do you give them a leg up? And doing that involves, for example, assisting people in being able to get into business in terms of making finance available to them, but also in removing a lot of the bureaucratic roadblocks and some of the sort of unofficial roadblocks where someone might say, yes, this is available to you, but when you go and you try and get in, these roadblocks appear. So the overall economic philosophy is opportunity for all. Let's grow this economy and let's make sure that people have a fair opportunity to participate and to compete on a level playing field.
And that's the philosophy of empowerment. And I think we can say that I think every government wants to create that sort of open opportunity, that level of opportunity. Whereas you have some approaches that are more where some governments say, listen, let's cut costs. Right? Others say, well, let's stimulate the economy by spending.
Yes.
We'll do infrastructure spending.
Yes.
And others will say, well, let us cut costs and create some more austerity measures so that the government is more robust in terms of its ability to spend on things like capital expenditures, et cetera.
Yes.
And streamlining SEOs. So I'm trying to figure out, because, in my mind, I have this thing, Minister Alkeid, where I'd say, well, the Progressive Liberal Party, they are a party that is about the infrastructure, right? They like to spend. You're a spending government that believes that if you spend, that you will create stimulation in the economy. So you would spend within government. And I would look at the Free National Movement and I would say, well, they are the government that believes that you would deal more with investors and more top-heavy capitalist marketing strategies so that we can create more robust foreign direct investment. So their own was more targeted to a particular group. And even though they said they didn't believe it, I felt it was more like a trickle-down effect of policy. However, we've seen where both have created just increasing debt. Every government increases the national debt.
Yeah.
Every government, we seem not to be getting more more in the positive trend of finances. So what is that belief for this administration?
Well, what has happened, I believe, Nahaja, is that, but if you look, when we look back at the fiscal history of the country, economic history, we'd find that in our budgets, we've run budget deficits virtually every year for the last 30 years, at least 30. With the exception of one year in 95, 96, when there was a very small slippers, and that was when Atlantis had come here and they were in full swing. Now, that deficit running had been fairly manageable over the years because the numbers were relatively small. 10 million, 20 million, in the scheme of budgets, small. And then along came 2008 and the global financial crisis. And all of a sudden now, instead of a $10, $20 million deficit, you started to see $100 million, $200 million, $500 million deficit, and all that goes to the debt. And we have really not recovered in terms of economic growth from that time. So you'll see over the years since then, our growth has been 1%, 1.5%, negative percent. And so now you have these deficits in the hundreds of millions, and they are being added to the debt. I think part of our issue has been that we want to, sometimes you have to take a bold approach to jump out of the box. Because if you, for example, you're keeping an eye constantly on the level of the deficit, you're wondering what the IMF is going to say, what Moody's is going to say, what S&P's are going to say, even though you have to keep those things in mind. If you, for example, your whole philosophy is solely, let's minimize the deficit, let's cut spending, let's keep a deficit low, then what happens is you get into this, in my opinion, you get into this sort of cycle where you have constantly low levels of growth. And so what has happened over all these years, our economy has been growing very slowly. We've been running deficits, and our debt has been increasing. And then you get into this circle where now you have this high level of debt, you're spending more money on your debt servicing, which takes money away from other things that the government has to do. So you have to find a way to stimulate the economy into sustained growth, so that the economy is growing, jobs are being created, revenue is being collected, you're running lower deficits, and your debt is not rising as fast as it is, and then eventually, hopefully, begins to decrease. And so, to your point, yes, some administrations adopt this austerity program. We're going to balance the budget. We're going to cut spending. We're going to keep it in check. But in our situation, and in a lot of countries, government is a big part of the economy. So when the government withdraws, the government is not building, so they're not employing contractors, they're not expanding, so they're not buying, then it has an effect on the overall economy. How do you get to that happy medium where you have government, you have an economy that is growing, and so government is getting its revenue, and then it can as well do its part to keep the economy stimulated. And so it's a balance. It's a balance. It'll be, I think, my opinion, it'll be a mistake to think that it's a balance. It'll be a mistake to rely solely on austerity, to say we're going to cut and balance the budget. And it'd be a mistake and, wishful thinking to think that, okay, all of a sudden this economy is going to start growing at healthy levels right away. You have to make an investment in infrastructure to be able to do it, in education and training, in finding new niches in the economy, new ways to do things, and then you eventually build up this healthy economy. So it's a balance. And it's going to take a few years to get a handle on the whole fiscal situation.
We're going to take a quick break. Minister of Economic Affairs, Michael Halkid, is joining us. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja, Black Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM. We'll be back right after this.
Junior just showed me Bella Boy in his phone.
What you mean? He take picture of that good-for-nothing boy?
Shh, you don't want Bella here. You say that. You know she always say that's my good child.
So what he doing in Junior phone?
Oh, he there because the police looking for him. He on their wanted list.
Wanted persons in your phone now?
Yes, child. And when police want to find anybody quick, after something happen, they can send pictures direct to your phone. Go to Google Play or App Store and search for Crack Crime Bahamas. Then pick install and it will go straight to your phone.
There is also a section on missing persons.
Yes, girl. Everybody needs to get this app so police can tell us right away when these people go missing. Just like an alert system.
Yes, it has numbers for Crime Stoppers Bahamas, so you can call and nobody knows it's you. Call directly to Miami and give the information without giving your name or anything about you. I tried the other day, and when I hear Junior and his boys talking about where they hide those guns, I walk quick round the corner and call that number.
Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands.
Affordable and comprehensive home insurance policy from Shield Insurance. You can't control what nature blows your way, but with Shield Insurance, you can rest easy as you ride out the storm. Protect your largest and most valuable investment. Don't take a chance. Put your home in our hands.
Shield Insurance agents and brokers in Nassau. Call 356-7202 or Freeport 352-5945.
It's a hit back with Nahaja Black. It's a hit back with Nahaja Black.
And we're back. You're listening to Hit Back with Nahaja, Black Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM. It has been a day. If you were part of the whole power out, dipping in and out crew, sorry, we are all in this boat together. It has been happening all day. So please stay in prayer. You don't want to let the night hit you and light off. That's just when it really, the mosquitoes out here after this rain will be intense. But I want to welcome back on the show My guest today, we were scheduled for last week, but God is good. No time is like the right time.
Yes.
Minister of Economic Affairs, Michael Halkitis, joining us on the show. Well, okay, Mr. Halkitis. Minister Halkitis, you said something that's very interesting before we went to break, that, you know, that there must be a balance.
Yes.
Right? There must be a balance that we strike. And I think that we all understand that there is a balance that one must strike, that with our economy, there are certain factors that cannot change. We are a country that not cannot change, but it'll be a while to adjust and pivot. We're a country that is heavily reliant on U.S. currency.
Yes.
We're a country that thinks that we need that currency to come from abroad into country, and we need to find creative ways to do so. Right now, the number one way by which we get foreign currency, U.S. reserve, is through tourism.
Yes.
When tourism is slow, foreign currency reserves get lower. When that happens, we panic. We need to ask some uncle to lend us some cash, right? And those are the factors by which the economy is governed. The former administration did something that I agree with, that they ensured that the U.S. reserve stayed robust, but we understood that that was from borrowing, right? But that was to protect, of course, the amount of imports that we as a country require most with food, et cetera. So all of these things are factors that are consideration for how we do business in country. But most of us as laymen feel very distant from that process of thinking. We wake up in the morning, we want to go to work, we want to buy grocery. We don't meditate on how much it costs to import, how much did we exchange in US dollars. We want to know that the economy is good enough that I can do daily transactions and still travel to Fort Lauderdale and probably catch COVID when I want to, right? So all of that to ask this question here. The balanced approach is good, and we understand that, but what does that mean to us? When you go to work, you say, okay, I know my citizens, my people need X, Y, and Z. This is our balanced approach to fiscal reform.
Yeah, I mean, what it means is that you have to recognize that there are several elements that would lead to your stability. As you said, you need economic growth. You need visitors coming in. You need investments coming in. That is the way we earn foreign currency. They come in. You have to, on the expenditure side, you have to be cognizant and you have to be concerned about wastage. And so you are constantly looking at ways to eliminate wastage, to make sure the government is getting value for money. But you also recognize, when I speak about balance, is the fact that government has to do certain things. Government has to provide education. They have to provide teaching. They have to provide security. They have to duplicate these services on various islands. I remember a few years ago, you know, when after following, not a few years ago, it's 20 years ago now, but coming out of 9/11, when you had to have all of your airports now that have flights going into the U.S. meet a certain security standard. And, you know, we're a country, I think it's like something like 28 airports or some number like that. And so we're duplicating these. And so the burden on the Bahamas government is greater than, let's say, a Barbados, which is a one land mass and similar population or slightly smaller. And so when I speak of balance, is that yes, your government has to provide services at a certain level, and at the same time they must be promoting growth in the economy. And so you don't rely strictly on austerity measures to cut spending to balance the budget, but you do that. You manage your affairs in such a way that you're eliminating wastage, you eliminate duplication where you can, you improve the way you get value for money. On the other end, you're growing the economy and trying to bring in new sources and new ways of growth. And I think, Nahaja, that coming out of this COVID pandemic, if there is a silver lining, it is that Bahamians have put their creative energies to work. And by necessity, because some people lost jobs, they were furloughed, they were laid off, they have started businesses, they have found creative niches to get involved in. And many of them don't want to go back to 9 to 5. And so a part of what the government has to do then is to make sure that those people are supported in terms of, moving the red tape, making sure that we have in place as best we can. Financing, if they need to get financing, we have to have the infrastructure in place. So if they're producing something, they can get it to market, they can get paid. And so, coming out of it, I think there's a tremendous opportunity for us to support more Bahamians in business.
How do you see it when we talk about that, right? The question that I've asked and what we always ask is where is the money coming from? And even with the things that, the government has already pledged to do, the lump sum, the questions of where's the revenue coming from? Considering that, there was this question of how much money is, actually able to be, the bills to be paid. Where's this money coming from to make these things happen?
The money is going to come from the fact that the economy, now recall, our economy has been for extensive periods from around early 2020 up until a few months ago, in some cases for extended periods of time, the economy virtually shut down. Remember in the early days in 2020, where we had, no movement, lockdown, and so business couldn't operate. Now, as we begin to open up some more, this weekend, the curfew is no more. We've seen the relaxation of the curfew over the past month. And so you're going to see businesses be able to have extended hours, more business, more people going to work. All of the tourism people are telling us that, for example, air departures are about 70% of the level that they were in 2019. So they're coming back to those pre-COVID levels. The hotels are saying that their bookings are strong for the season. Airlift, more flights coming in from Canada. The UK Virgin is about to resume their service, I think, in about 2 weeks. Strong airlift coming out of the US. So the economy is going to bounce back. And so you'll see some money coming from there, and we've started to see it already. Unfortunately, we also have a lot of bills that are hung over from our response to COVID and other things, and the economy being shut down and the government not having the revenue. We owe vendors, and so we're trying to liquidate that. So the money is going to come as the economy opens up and more business comes here. We have, what they call it a pent-up demand for travel from the U.S. here. So we expect to see that strong, and we have expect to see investments, people who want to come here to perhaps make the Bahamas their place of residence, because they feel that if they need to be locked down somewhere, what better place to be locked down? So, and as far as where's the money coming from, we'll see it as the economy opens back up. We see the revenue begin to come back.
So with some of these initiatives that have already been assigned, like you said, increasing social assistance to the vulnerable populations, increasing pensions, returning to incremental pay, are those things that funds already been allocated and set aside?
Funds have already been allocated for those. Funds have already been allocated for those. In this budget, if you have an opportunity, you will see that in the Department of Public Service, you see an increase in their budget allocation. That is for the pensions. Those pensions, just to remind the public, those are for retired civil servants, some of whom have been getting pensions of less than $500 a month. And so for those, any retired civil servant or who had worked for the government and now retired getting a pension under $500, they will see their pension increase by $100. Those who were getting a pension of between $500 and $1,000, they will get an additional $75 per month. And those who were getting over $1,000 would get an additional $50 per month. It's a way of assisting in making that adjustment for the cost of living. Cost of living is going up. Pensions, public sector pensions, do not have a built-in cost of living allowance, and so that is a way to assist. So yes, those funds have already been identified.
And the hope is that and I guess I need to make sure that I access the correct way. Is this more so a benevolent thing, or is there also an economic strategy attached to this?
Economic strategy, both, because more money. It's similar to the $500 in December. There's both. We study economics, and as you know, individuals when they earn a certain level, a certain percentage of that is spent. So it is benevolence because it brings some relief, but the money goes back into the economy. It goes to the neighborhood store. It goes to the grocery store. It goes to the shoe store, to the department store, and so people put it into the economy, and then it begins to circulate. So it's a benevolence, and it acts as a stimulus as well.
Now let's go to this conversation of VAT,
yes.
Right? The big conversation, one of the big things, if you're just tuning in, Minister of Economic Affairs, Michael Halkitis, joining the Hit Back with us on the show today. One of the big announcements, one of those things, honestly, I remember, Mr. Halkitis, when it was said in the campaign trail. I said, oh, God, here we go. Here we go. And I asked the question personally, and it was an honest question. What is the stimulating factor? What is the stimulating factor of the reduction from 12 to 10? Now, mind you, I am not one to be upset with a tax reduction.
Yeah.
However, I need to know, because of course we went up from 7.5 to 12, supposedly for the need of revenue to reduce deficits, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. That didn't happen.
Yeah,
okay.
No.
But now we're going down.
Yes.
And as we're going down, I'm curious as to what you see in that 2% reduction that will stimulate or not hurt the economy or the revenue train of the government.
Yeah, let's go back. I'm glad you went all the way back to the campaign trail, because you would recall that in March 2021, the PLP, then in opposition, published an economic plan. And we published it what would normally have been a full year ahead of when elections were due, because, at that time, there was, we didn't really get into election season yet, or they hadn't really ramped up yet. But we were looking at election in May 2022. So we published this economic plan a full year ahead. And the reason we did it is because we wanted to let the Bahamian people know we do indeed have a plan. It's not a secret plan. Here's the plan. Dissect it. Give us your feedback. There it is. That is the way we wanted to do it. And it was called Recover, Rebuild, Revolutionize, because we realized we needed to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic, rebuild the economy, and then revolutionize. And the revolutionize portion of it was because we realized that we can't go back to business as usual. There is no more business as usual because, for example, quite frankly, I think that for our tourism industry, for example, going forward, I think you'll see less, if not zero, of the mega resorts now, and the more concentration on the smaller boutique resorts. And so revolutionize, that's just an example, but revolutionize also in terms of promoting different areas of our economy that our people can get involved in. And so back to the plan, there were several elements of it, 10 points. The first 3, provide immediate relief. And under that portion of the plan, we said we'll drop the rate of VAT from 12% to 10%. We'll bring back the RISE prepaid card. We'll address arrears, arrears to vendors, people who government owes money to. We'll pay them off because those are, in many cases, struggling businesses, entrepreneurs themselves. The second part of it was we said we'll stabilize the public finances. And a big part of that is the Revenue Enhancement Unit. And then the third part was kickstarting the economy and job creation. And so a big part of the providing immediate relief was dropping the VAT, cutting the VAT rate from 12% to 10% across the board. Now we believe that that will help, because that means that on everything that you spend, instead of paying 12%, you'll now pay 10%. And as you rightly said, a big part of the debate has been on those items that will no longer be zero rated. And I'll just take another step back and say this. When we did the implementation, there's a lot of studies, a lot of back and forth, a lot of consultation, and we settled on a model that called for one rate, preferably a low rate, relatively low rate, but with very few exemptions. And so if you would recall, the original plan that was formed, that was being mooted by the administration by the F&M administration between 2007 and 2012, called for 15%. When we took it up in 2012, we started to talk about 15% as well. After consultation and a lot of back and forth, a lot of studies, we settled on 7.5% with minimal exemptions. And our thinking was keep one rate. It makes administration simpler, easier. Few exemptions. You have less opportunity for fraud and loopholes, etc. And for those who are vulnerable, who are low-income earners, who may be struggling, and you wanted to give them an assistance, you give them a direct assistance. Because, for example, if you were to, let's say you give a tax break on bread, for example, yes, the single mom who needs help, she'll get the break, but also getting the break would be the fast food chains who buys, millions of dollars worth of bread a year. So we felt that the best way was to just have one rate that is universally applicable, and those who need the assistance, you do the direct assistance. And so there has been a lot of discussion about the breadbasket, and I know it's an emotional issue, and I know it's a sensitive issue, and it's a politically charged issue, because when we did it at first, we agonized over it, and now doing this, eliminating those zero ratings, we had a lot of discussion on it, but we decided that this is the best way to do it. And if the citizen was to look at his overall spending, and Nahaja, there's always a balance you have to strike, because I hate to be talking about scientific studies and then food, because I don't want people to think I'm divorced from feeling and understanding what people go through. But for example, our studies will show that even in the grocery store, the average person would spend about 25% of his grocery bill on the bread basket item. So 75% is not bread basket. You're talking about everything else you buy out of the grocery store. And then so when you combine that with your overall spending, let's say you go to the clothing store, to the gas station, to the fast food place, to the restaurant, if you go out and have a meal, buy a beverage, all of those now will no longer attract 12%, they'll attract 10%. And so even when we factor in the removal of the zero rating on the bread basket, we think that overall the consumer will be better off.
I'm going to take a quick break, because on that, we have some questions on that as well.
Okay.
We have the Minister of Economic Affairs, Michael Halkitis, on the Bahamian economy. When we come back, more with the Minister for Economic Affairs. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja, Black Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM.
Scotiabank Bahamas wishes to advise the public that their new intelligent deposit machines have been updated and are now accepting the new Bahamian $100 note. The bank will continue to monitor their systems and sincerely apologizes for any inconvenience caused. This traffic report is brought to you by Shield Insurance and Prudential Loss Adjusters.
First look at traffic this afternoon, and Friday is living up to its reputation of being a very busy day for traffic all across New Providence. The weather obviously a factor today. Gray skies everywhere, intermittent rain, wet streets just complicate things out here. Gladstone Road is exceptional. Heavy traffic line in both directions, especially on the north lane getting out of Gladstone Road. Lengthy traffic line there to get up there onto JFK. Same time, you do have a lineup on JFK getting onto Gladstone Road as well. So both lanes moving back and forth on Gladstone Road, very busy. It's also busy on Tamalabala Highway, the southbound lane, and the intersection there at Tony's $1 Million Highway, busy on all sides, with the west lanes going into that roundabout extremely busy, giving you a lengthy traffic line and a slow ride into the roundabout. Traffic around the Michael Road and Blue Hill Road intersection also busy at this time, and those two thoroughfares coming off of Robinson Road headed into the south, both Blue Hill Road South and East Street South. Those dual lanes heavy with traffic going into the roundabout there on East Street, meaning Independence Drive on one side and East West Highway on the other, is causing heavy traffic congestion getting into that circle. And your inner city streets are very busy at this time as well. From Bain and Brownstown on the west side, going across Key Street, going across Collins Avenue into the Palmdale area, coming in there on Mackey Street, all very busy at this time. And certainly inner city Wolf Road. Once you reach up around the Mackey Street and Marathon Road intersection, it is really busy in there. And Marathon Road itself busy in both directions. Prince Charles Drive, heavy with traffic. From the Soldier Road intersection into the East-West Highway traffic light intersection, solid traffic lines going through the light there. So Friday afternoon, already extremely busy in the streets. And the wet streets even complicates matters more. You've got to drive with extreme caution and care here this afternoon. This is National Traffic Report Service of Dr. Danny Johnson and Associates at Foot Michael International with your rider sky looking traffic in real time. I'm VANN. Back in an hour with an update.
Michael was in a horrible car accident. Prudential loss adjusters managed his claim and got him the settlement he deserved. Sierra's roof received hurricane damage. Thanks to Prudential, she and her kids are happy with their claim settlement. Tammy fractured her ankle in a slip and fall. Prudential saved her time, money, and peace of mind. Prudential loss adjusters are here for you whenever a tragedy strikes. Call 322-4026 now.
Don't wait for disaster to strike. This hurricane season, be ready. Protect your home with an affordable and comprehensive home insurance policy from Shield Insurance. You can't control what nature blows your way, but with Shield Insurance, you can rest easy as you ride out the storm. Protect your largest and most valuable investment. Don't take a chance. Put your home in our hands.
Shield Insurance agents and brokers in Nassau. Call 356-7202 or Freeport 352-5945.
It's a hit back with Nahaja Black. It's a hit back with Nahaja Black. It's a hit back with Nahaja Black.
You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. I hope you all are doing well, taking care of yourself, living your best life. We have joining us the Minister of Economic Affairs, the one and only Minister Michael Halkitis. Just a pleasure to have you on the show, Michael. All right, so we were talking about VAT, right? Mm-hmm. And the need and the importance of, or not the need of, but I think the questioning of why, because many will say, okay, listen, it's supposed to be relief, but you hit me in the pocket, and you did a very good job. And on the show, we've grown to understand that perhaps it is a simpler form, right? It is a simpler form across the board. You're avoiding certain loopholes, but it came with its own pushback, even from the insurance companies. The insurance companies had its own pushback.
Yeah, I think if you're, and one more point on the VAT issue before I touch the insurance is that remember when in 2018 when the exemptions were brought in on the bread basket and a few other items, the rate had to be increased from 7.5 to 12. And so that is normally what you see in a system where you have the exemptions. In order to make up for the monies lost on the exemptions, you need a much higher rate. And so even in some countries, they would have certain exemptions, certain items exempted, and then they would have, higher rates on everything else. And in some countries, they have multiple rates. Those countries who have been dealing with VAT for many, many years, they have multiple rates. We think our advice is that makes it more complex and more difficult to administer. And we have actually been given a study, and hopefully we can share it soon when it's finalized. But we have a draft study showing that the effectiveness of the system has decreased since the introduction of the multiple zero ratings. That the effectiveness has come from in the mid-90s down to the low 80s. And again, I just would like to say once again, I'm talking about effectiveness and studies and things. I don't want it to be seen as if we're relying on that and do not understand the struggle of people every day. And so that is why we say for those most vulnerable and who may be struggling, the best option is to give them that direct assistance.
And
in terms of the insurance, I just want to touch that. I know that was an issue that was debated, and I think there was a long process, and the government and the industry came to a position, and that position hasn't changed, and that is not being changed in these amendments. I think what happened in that case was a reporter asked someone a question, and he said, well, if they do that, it would be wrong. But it was never the intention of the government to change that arrangement.
So just to make sure that this is clear, there will not be VAT. So we are going to leave it as is, but there will not be VAT on the premiums for insurances.
No, not for home insurance. No.
So that is a clear statement here.
That is a clear statement.
No VAT on home insurances.
No. Clear statement. The amendments have been tabled on Monday of this week. I think it was Monday. I think it was Monday of this week.
I think it was Monday as well.
Yeah, right. And the days
rolling into each other.
It is rolling into each other. And so it's very clear what's there. And what we do is, and then those things, as we move forward, we clean up other things. I know there's some question about, financial services and some of their things. We might have to do some more with that. But in terms of that insurance thing, that is a position between the government and industry that is not being changed.
All right. In terms of, we're almost to the next break. It's amazing how quickly these breaks are rolling in. On that point of targeting, because see, this is one of those questions of how do we target the distribution or the assistance, because you could have all of the revenue. Many don't trust that the revenue will be used in the way that governments say that they'll be used.
It's a problem. I remember, and fortunately or unfortunately, I have been the face of this reform for many years. And I remember in the early days, when we started the debate, and a big question, two positions: collect what's out there, because we hear this number $400 to $600 million of property tax that's uncollected. So collect what's out there, and also we don't mind paying, but show us what you're doing with it. The worst thing, and one of the worst things in the world is people are paying and they get the feeling that their money is being wasted, and that's why it's so important to have in place processes that ensure that you're not wasting public funds, that you are getting value for money. So for example, if you hire someone to repair a school, you're getting good quality work that will last. Or if you're hiring someone to provide a service to the government, you're getting quality and value for money, because then that builds up the faith of the public. But unfortunately, the public has in terms of faith and trust, that there's a lot of work that needs to be done in that area. But you build that up by being very open, by saying what you're doing, by publishing the information. The last administration, they did the Fiscal Responsibility Act, and there was a lot of reporting, the quarterly reporting, which is a good thing. We just, because the public needs to have the information, we have to do a good job of making sure that, we're not just throwing numbers at people,
right?
But people can understand what these numbers mean and what it means for me as a citizen.
And will it be independent reporting? So
independent reporting.
Because that's what we were supposed to get with the Fiscal Responsibility Act, where we had a fiscal responsibility committee that would give us independent reporting on the government's finances.
We have to strengthen it because, you're quite right. The Fiscal Responsibility Act, you have a Fiscal Responsibility Council who is supposed to give you independent reports, but they rely on the government to give them information. And so there has to be that cooperation as well, so that when they say, give me the information, you give them the information in a timely manner, and you can break it down for them if needs be. And so it's a good step. And so, we people, we intend to continue and to observe the requirements of it. But, we have to, we want to go a step further in making sure that the council has access to the information that they need, and they can do their work in a timely manner. Because I think then it makes our work easier, because, people don't trust politicians.
No.
And it's an age-long thing. People just think, politicians are up to stuff. And so it's upon us to make sure that, you build up that faith in the government and the administration of the affairs.
Minister Michael Halkid is joining us. I want to ask this before we go to a break, because I know we were supposed to do an hour, but I still got about 15 minutes worth of
All
questions.
right. Okay. Yeah. I'll stay for another 15 minutes.
But I want to ask this before we go to break. Will there be any other new taxations planned? Do you guys have any other new forms of taxation planned?
No. I can say that unequivocally. What our plan is to grow the economy. We believe that a 10% rate across the board would be more efficient. We'll collect, we'll eliminate some loopholes. We'll do a better job of collecting the tax. It will put some more money back in people's pockets, which they might elect to spend somewhere else, and that creates a bit of a stimulus. We are already re-implementing something we call the Revenue Enhancement Unit, because recall when I said, when we were implementing that, people said, collect what's out there. So we said, okay, you get a unit that goes out, and particularly for larger taxpayers, you do audits, and not to harass people and to hound them, but just to make sure that everything is correct. You're paying the amount that's due. To go out, for example, in terms of property tax, to make sure that the assessments are up to date. Everybody is assessed, and so everybody is who needs to be is on the tax rolls. The information is accurate, and so we believe that if we grow the economy, if we collect what's due, if we do things like I had I sat in on a meeting where the discussion was, how can we make that grass that you see there growing on Goodman's Bay, if you go out, not on Goodman's Bay, in the water? Apparently that's a carbon sink.
Yep.
I'm learning this new language.
Seaweed, all of that seagrass.
That is more effective than the Amazon jungle. And so there might be a way in the future to monetize that, where you get carbon credits. This is stuff that I'm learning as well. And so that would be a new source. And so how do we encourage Bahamians in their businesses? I had a very, very interesting meeting with a technology developer this morning who was talking about, I told him the story of meeting this young lady in Cat Island during the campaign. And she was doing crocheting. And what immediately came to mind is, how can she stay there, do that work, market it, ship it, get paid, and don't have to come back to Nassau.
Yeah.
And, there are people who are working on these things. And so I say that as an example of, yes, COVID has thrown us for a loop, but it's also, ignited released the creative impulse in a lot of people.
Yeah.
And how do we support that?
Hold that thought. Let's go to a quick break for news, and then we'll come back. More with the Minister of Economic Affairs, Michael Halkidas. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM.
This is Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Good afternoon, I'm Tashina Robinson with your Guardian Network News headlines at 5. Here's what's topping the news at this hour. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Pearl McMillan announcing this afternoon that the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, will move the Bahamas down from a level 4 health notice to a less serious level 3. The Bahamas has been at the highest of the 4 COVID-19 risk categories since late August. A former accountant at John Watlin's distillery today pleaded guilty to stealing almost $200,000 in company funds. Tabitha Wells appeared before Magistrate Kendra Kelly for the start of her trial regarding the theft of just over $198,000 from the drinks company. The theft occurred between February 11th, 2020 and August 19th of that same year. Wells confessed to the theft when her boss confronted her about why the company's vendors hadn't been paid. Wells reportedly told him she'd been stealing to support a gambling addiction. Her lawyer, Damian Gomez, QC, asked the court to consider a non-custodial sentence. The prosecutor, Sergeant 260 Vernon Pyfrom, did not oppose the submission. Meanwhile, Wells remained on bail pending a sentencing hearing on February 25, 2022. A 14-year-old appearing in the juvenile court in connection with a school stabbing. Police arrested the student at Prince William's High School on Tuesday after he allegedly stabbed another student in the chest while they were both in the vice principal's office. The teen was charged with causing harm and unlawfully carrying arms in connection with the incident. The accused appeared before juvenile court magistrate Cara Turnquist DeVoe with his guardian. He denied causing harm to the student. However, the teen admitted to unlawfully carrying a knife. He returns to court on February 2nd. He remains on police bail. And as the emergency orders come to an end, officials are still figuring out what will happen to employees furloughed for nearly 2 years due to the pandemic. Officials say they hope to have an answer by next week. And with that, we wrap up your headline news at this hour. I'm Tashina Robinson. Thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned. AP News is up next.
Ben, why are you so nervous about getting the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't know. I've been hearing the doctors, seeing things on social media. One article say this, one story say that, and I don't think I know enough about the vaccine.
Okay, let me help you out. Vaccinated people are less likely to get seriously ill from COVID-19, less likely to be admitted to hospital, and less likely to die from COVID-19.
Kelly, I don't want to end up in hospital.
Ben, the vaccine even provides protection against the new variants of COVID-19, and that's good news.
Kelly, I like how you put it. Thanks. You could help me make my COVID-19 vaccine appointment, please?
Definitely. Don't procrastinate. Vaccinate.
This message has been brought to you by the Ministry of Health and this radio station.
What happened to you? You look like you lost your paycheck.
Man, I just realized I got scammed out of a bunch of money. They said I won this contest and just needed me to send them some money so I could collect. I mean, to expedite something. Or was it to smooth the process?
Man, you're smarter than that. Protect yourself against scams and fraud by following these steps. If you know you didn't enter a competition, you can't win. Never play to receive a cash prize. If you're being asked, you're being scammed. Check trusted internet sites for verification of information given to you. Do not give your banking details to people you don't know. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. Monitor your bank account regularly for any questionable transactions. Get more information at getmoneysmartbahamas.com.
Trump aide indicted. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. Steve Bannon, longtime ally to former President Donald Trump, has been indicted on 2 counts of contempt of Congress after defying a congressional subpoena from the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th attack on the Capitol. It's not clear when Bannon is due in court. Earlier today, committee chairman Mississippi Congressman Benny Thompson recommended a contempt of Congress vote against former Trump chief of staff Mark Meadows for defying a subpoena and not showing for a deposition today. At a meeting with his cabinet today, President Biden talked about the passage of the $1 trillion infrastructure bill that he will sign Monday.
Proving we can still come together. It's hard, but we can still come together to get something big done for the American people.
The president says he will make another announcement next week on who will oversee the rebuilding effort, which he says will create jobs and grow the economy. I'm Tim McGuire.
If you like Frito-Lay chips like Ruffles, Doritos, Cheetos Smart Food Popcorn, and Funyuns, you're going to love getting a chance to win great instant prizes this Saturday, November 13th at Extra Value Oaksville. Join the Frito-Lay Island Wholesale Team between 12 and 3 this Saturday. Make a qualifying purchase of any Frito-Lay's chips or Smart Food Popcorn, and you get a chance to spin and win great instant prizes. And don't forget to put your contact info on your receipt and drop it in the promo box at participating locations for a chance to win bicycles and hoverboards in the grand prize drawing November 27th. Frito-Lay Chips, distributed by Island Wholesale.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
It's the hit back with Nahaja Black. It's the hit back with Nahaja Black. It's the hit back with Nahaja Black. It's the hit back with Nahaja Black.
And we're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Power issues across the island today. I'm still struggling with mine, so we'll see how long we do it for today. And it happened at the weirdest time, too. I'll tell you, just the devil. Well, anyways, I got the Minister here of Economic Affairs who's probably going to tell us how he's going to correct BPL for all Bahamians and fix that economic woe of a power company.
It's a, you know,
Is that on the agenda, Minister?
It's a rainy day, so everybody gets nervous.
It's a sad state of affairs. I got some great questions for you, but before I get to those questions, I wanted to ask you something. You know, the question of it, and I'm getting this from within my phone right now. What I'm getting is a lot of questions saying, okay, listen, all of that sounds reasonably good what the minister is saying, but really I'm not hearing a strategy. I'm not hearing, okay, we are looking at, based on the projections that we have, estimated income being X. Based on that income being X, we project that we will be able to do X, Y, and Z within this quarter, not just with the budget, not just talking about the budget, but in overall with the plan. You know, we are having things that happen to us and not us happening to things, Ketis. How do we trust that this administration is willing to happen to things? Because tourism happens to us.
Yeah. We have, and perhaps I should have said at the beginning of the show, I'm very excited about what we can do in the Ministry of Economic Affairs. Under our portfolio, and some people say, well, what is the Ministry of Economic Affairs?
That's a good question, yeah.
Is it the Ministry of Finance? What is it? It's not the Ministry of Finance. We are responsible for economic development and planning, the promotion of financial services, relations with the Financial Services Board, consumer welfare, including the Standards Bureau and Prices Commission and Consumer Protection, international trade. So all of the issues with the CARA Forum and the WTO, FTA, all of those things. The Domestic Investment Board, ease of doing business, insurance, small business development, which it's going to be very exciting, some of the things we plan to do, and including what they call the colored economies, the orange, the blue, and the green economy, statistics, e-government, and digitization, e-commerce, and as well the electronic communication sector. And as well, any work or any assignment delegated by the Prime Minister as Minister of Finance, assisting him with things like the budget and planning and other government agencies. So what we are doing right now, I came into office and I spent a good part of the first few weeks meeting people from the various departments, meeting with the banks, with the IMF, with the World Bank, with S&P, Moody's, investors, letting them know that, number one, this government is committed to strong fiscal management and meeting our obligations, and then also getting familiarized with the various departments. And so I'm excited about some of the things we are going to be doing with small business. And as you said, we have to make sure things don't happen to us. We happen. I like that. Right?
Yeah, we happen to think.
And what my philosophy is this. As I said, you have a lot of people who I was speaking to a friend of mine the other day, and he was talking about some of the business things that he was exploring. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, the government doesn't have to do that. The Bahamian people are already getting into these niches, investing in the Airbnbs and doing the digital stuff. Now, what it's incumbent upon the government just to provide that support, make sure the infrastructure is in place, and then get out of the way. and don't frustrate them. And don't frustrate them with red tape and rules and arbitrary rules, but make sure people can understand, okay, if I do this, this, and this, I can go into business, I can go my own way, and nobody will be there frustrating me. And in the case where you need to provide support, then you have to find creative ways of providing that support. One pet peeve, I don't know if it's pet peeve, but we have certain segments of the economy reserved for Bahamians. And so, for example, we might have an investor come and we say, okay, the water sports is reserved for Bahamians, but the requirements in terms of the equipment and the levels of insurance and this and that you need are so high that Bahamians are automatically, there's this huge barrier for them to get in. And so how do we make sure that, we can help in that area? And so my philosophy, and I think I know what I'll be bringing to the government is listen, government doesn't have to be in control of everything. The Bahamian people are smart, they're creative, they're resilient. Let's just get out, you have a level of regulation to protect the public, but otherwise don't frustrate them with red tape.
We have a caller on the line. I want to get this caller for you. Caller, you're on the Hit Back. Welcome. Minister Halkitis is with us on the show.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Black. How are you?
I'm well, and you?
Beautiful. And Minister, how are you, sir?
I'm fine. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Beautiful. I'm a very concerned citizen. I'm looking at the Value Added Tax Act 2014.
Yes.
Before I ask my question, it states in Section 1.3 that the minister may appoint by notice published in the Gazette different dates for the coming into force of Part 3, 4, and Section 98 of the Act, respectively. My question
Okay, sorry,
to
say
you,
again,
sir,
you're looking at Section 1.3?
1.3, yes, sir. The Value Added Tax 2014.
Okay.
Section 1.3. I wish to find out from you, sir, the value-added tax appointed date notice that was signed off on by our former Prime Minister, Mr. Perry Gladstone Christie. It states in the appointed date notice, sir, SI number 63, in exercise of the powers conferred by Section 1.3 of the Value-Added Tax Act 2014, the 6th day of October 2014 is the appointed day notice on which Part 3 and the Section 98 of the Act shall come into operation. Would you say to me, sir, please, and to the public, do you have an appointed day notice for Part 4 of the Value Added Tax Act, which is the main part of Value Added Tax Act registration that deals with mandatory registration, voluntary registration, registered open to the public, and further? Please.
I think I'm looking for that part that you quoted. I don't see it. I have mine here.
You don't see it?
You said 1.3, Part 1. You said when you
There were
you were
many
looking
amendments. I'm talking about the original that
Yeah, I'm looking at the
implemented-
original, 2014.
Yes, sir.
19 September 2014. And
Which
you
date
said
did you
that you were quoting from Section 3?
No, 1.3, sir.
1.3.
Yes.
Okay.
The minister may appoint. That's the very top part of the Act. That
Okay,
deals with short title and commencement.
1.3. The minister may appoint by notice published in the different dates for the coming into force of Part 3, Part 4, and Section 98.
You got it, sir.
And you said that you saw sometime in October for which part? Part 3?
The Prime Minister, according to the appointed date notice that's signed on the 6th day of October 2014, the Prime Minister only brought into force Parts 3 and the Section 98. There is no appointed date notice for Part 4.
On January 1st, 2015.
January 1st, the 6th day, sir, of October. Would you please state if there is an appointed day notice? I sent several letters to the Ministry of Finance. I have yet, sir, to get
a response. So you're interested in Part 4. I'm trying to flip here. I'm
That
sure there is.
allows
What you can do, if you, ma'am, don't give your name on the air, but if you can give your information to
the producer. Leave it with the producer for us on the line.
Mrs. Black, hello, Mrs. Black?
Yes.
Mrs. Black.
Yeah.
It means that the people are being unlawfully charged VAT. I am tired of writing the Ministry of Finance and the ministers.
No,
This
don't.
must be
I say don't write anymore.
Sir, I refuse to write anymore. I'm asking you
No,
publicly,
just let me know
sir.
or send the information and I'll look up what you've already written.
No problem, sir.
Yeah, and I want to find out more as well. Do me a
No
favor,
problem.
please.
Thank you
Producer, get the number for the caller, please, because I'm curious as to what she's discussing there too.
I'm trying to flip through it
curious as well.
myself, but we'll look at it.
Yeah. All right, let me get to some other questions here. And thanks, Brent. Producer's going to get that sorted out. So I have something here as well because I'm unlawfully charged. I want to read that.
I'm flipping through this to see what part 4 is. Part 4 is,
Well,
but
go
I'm
right
sure it's
on.
all registration. Part 4 deals with registration and people registering. I'm sure it's all in order, because we go over these things and it's checked and double checked. So I'll if you get the information, the contact, I'll look up the communication and make sure we respond to her.
Yeah, and that's important too, right? So
yes,
the question is there's a question that I wanted to get to that I thought was a good question here.
Mm-hmm.
When the credit bureau comes on stream and considering that data is being collected from 2018 to contribute to scores, will persons who were impacted by Dorian, for example, who had to take out loans that they would not have normally taken out, will they receive redeemable points that can help to raise their credit score, or will it be flat across the board? The score is the score.
Well, that's a very good, it's a very good suggestion, and when I left and we demitted office, we were along the way, and I think in the last administration they actually got to the point where it's implemented, and so it's still a work in progress. So I mean, it's a very good question. It's in my I have regular meetings with the governor. And so I will bring that question up. I think there's a lot of merit to it, particularly those people directly impacted and disrupted. So it's a very good point.
Yeah.
I'll take it up.
Definitely one. And when we talk about the credit bureau in and of itself, Minister, when is this to come into force?
I think they're already collecting information. And so I'll get the date. And, I'm hoping, Nahaja, that, we can have, I hope I was a good guest, and so you'll have me back.
Oh no, we'll definitely have you back.
Okay, I see the contact here on the thing. I'll find out that information. I think I definitely know that they're already collecting the information, and so they already started their work. I'm taking down this information for this lady right now.
Yeah. Again, if you can see it, let me know if you can see it.
I can see it. I got the number and the name, so I will look for the. If the lady is still listening, I would look for the correspondence and we'll answer her.
Someone asked.
I'm sure it's a very simple answer.
Someone asked, will your agendas and initiatives be in collaboration with the Ministry of Tourism, as well as other ministries that show substantial improvement and development?
They're definitely working very closely with the Ministry of Tourism. It's Ministry of Tourism Investments and Aviation. So the DPM, in addition to promoting the country, by way of tourism, also promoting in terms of investment. And, Nahaja, we've been talking for so long about spin-offs and linkages, there's a nice sounding word.
Kind of repetitive.
But, this is really the time that we really put the effort in, and we have to do the things. See, I believe, for one, that we can't just say, here's a development that should create linkages and spin-offs. Go for yourself. Well, more education. How do you get it done? How can we support? How can we get you started? How can we make sure you have a market for your goods? So all of those things work hand in hand. And I'm thinking that again, it goes back to our experience over the last year and a half. The severe disruptions that we've had makes all of these things urgent. The whole talk about climate change makes it urgent that we invest in things like food security and making sure that we take care of our marine environment. And, the fact that so many people were displaced makes it urgent that we put in place proper rules and legislation to make sure that, for example, people's intellectual property is protected. So artists and performers, they can copyright their work and get economic benefit from it. So more than one person asked me before the election, you sure you guys want to win this? You sure you want to take this? And it's a challenge. I mean, it's a challenge. It's a tremendous challenge, but I think it also is a tremendous opportunity.
Someone asked a question. Someone asked a question, if you're just tuning in, Minister of Economic Affairs, Michael Alkitis. Good day, Mrs. Black. Earlier in the show, the minister mentioned that he has all the funds allocated for all increments and other payments. I would like to know if he has allocated funds for quasi-government, because some of us are owed a lot of funds. So quasi-government entities. And that's one of the
we were dealing with, in this case, this matter right now is the central government. I think, but our experience has been as well is that the quasi sort of mirrors what happens in the government. So I think when you're talking about your PHAs and your UBs and those, and they sort of mirror what the central government is doing.
Someone asked just a basic bread basket item question. My bread, right? The bread in the store costs me $4 now. How much will it cost me later? And that's the concern. Our prices
it will. When we did this, it would likely go up a bit, but not the full 10%, because there's not there's a lot of elements that go into the final price of something going onto the shelf. It's not strictly a one-on-one relationship. So that will go up a few cents, but your chicken or your pork chop or your turkey wing and those other things, they will go down. And so we think it'll even out and you end up ahead even.
Let's see if we can get one more caller in before I let you go. Caller, you're on the hit back. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. And good afternoon to the minister.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
I want to actually commend you and your team for doing a good job. I don't want to be too forward to say it too early. But what I was thinking that we also need a one Bahamas situation. That we don't need to wait from administration to administration to think of what we have a lapse between, the gap between when one was in and one was out. I have a question about the VAT in terms of when a person requests a VAT receipt. What is that for, and how does that work, and what is the purpose? How does it benefit one person or the other, whether the government or the person?
When you request it as a consumer, you are basically acting as almost as a tax police for the government. You are making sure that number one, it's being charged, and that the person has a tax identification number on their receipt, and you also want to make sure that it's being calculated properly, that it's it's 12, it's 12, it's 10, it's 10, and so that is when people ask for it, is they want to make sure that okay, you're charging me this VAT, it's actually on the receipt, and you have a number, and just a double check to make sure that it's being calculated properly.
Okay, so it's not to be reimbursed.
No, it's not to be reimbursed. No,
okay,
it's not to be reimbursed.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
All right, and I think
for the customer, if for example it's someone who is getting a service or buying something from you in order to produce something else, then yes, they can use that receipt to prove that they have paid VAT on this, and they can get a credit. If you're selling to a business or someone who's using the thing that they bought from you as an input in producing something else. But if, let's say you go to the grocery store, you go to the auto parts store or any other store and you request a receipt, that's normally just people want to know that, okay, you're charging me VAT, you're actually registered.
Minister of Economic Affairs, Michael Akitas. So, Michael, I want to ask you this before I let you go. What is that big takeaway? And someone even asked a question about the loopholes the merchants are getting away with. And I want to ask that question, but I know we're out of time. But can you answer that quickly for me? What sort of loopholes are merchants getting away with? You mentioned earlier loopholes.
Yeah, well, when I say loopholes, and I don't want to, and then I don't want it to seem as if I'm casting aspersion or accusing anybody. But for example, when you have exemptions, unless you say, okay, this particular item is exempt, you run the risk then of having people put things in that category that shouldn't be. So classifying something into an exempt that shouldn't be. For example, if you say bread is exempt and someone put cake or pie or something like that, and then so you start getting those issues.
Or like medicine.
Right.
Medicine
now you have to
rubbing alcohol in it.
Right, and so now you have to devote more resources to making sure that the classifications are done properly, and so that is it. Yeah, and so that becomes cumbersome. So if you have one rate, minimal exemptions, it's better. And what we want to do is, the debate starts on the supplemental budget starts in the House of Assembly next week. And so there'll be more time to illuminate what's happening in the budget. I'm sure there'll be a lot more discussion on the VAT, and there'll be more opportunity for us to explain. And I just ask the public to just give us an opportunity to put this in place. We think it's a good plan. We think it's going to work. We think it's going to bring some savings. And, we look at it, and if it's not bringing you savings, and then, we look at it again. But we think with a growing economy, focus on our finances, we'll be on a good wicket. I heard during the news break that we're going from a level 4 down to a level 3 in terms of COVID travel, which is excellent. It helps, some of the hotels, some companies in the U.S., they don't allow their employees to travel in terms of conventions and groups to countries at a level 4. So that should open more opportunities. So we're hopeful, we're cautiously optimistic that we put the worst of the COVID behind us and we can begin to grow and move forward. But thank you very much. Thank you very much.
We have to do this soon.
I've had a great time. And I've looked forward, please, to coming back. What I want to do is over the next few weeks, just spend some more time meeting some more people and putting the plan together so that, as we get to 2022 in January, we really launch and we can take off. And I'm excited.
Yeah, and I would love to. I think we have to dive a bit deeper even in some of these things like the orange, the green economy.
Yes, definitely.
And how do we get the family islands to become centers separate and apart from New Providence where commerce happens? So there's a lot of questions there, Minister. But I thank you so much for the
and
time.
Technology. I look forward to it. I want to come back and talk about that.
Well, the hit back is here for you. So we will do that anytime. Once we're talking about the economy, I'm always open. Thank you so much, Minister.
Thank you, and have a great rest of the evening, and have a great weekend.
That's right. Hopefully your light stays on, eh?
Yes.
EPL as well.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black. That was Minister of Economic Affairs, Michael Halkitis, joining us on the show. And there are still a lot more questions to go, a lot more questions to go. But time and technology, the issues of power also are a challenge. So we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we've got special guests joining us and a quick few minutes with my good friend C.A. Nuri on his thoughts on the show. But my question and what will always be the position is, okay, are we moving in the right direction? I'm still waiting to hear those things that are exciting to me within the economic budget, the exciting things, but we'll see. Steady and slow, eh? But I needed to move a little quicker. The good news is, ladies and gentlemen, we've moved from a 4 to a 3 in the COVID fight. And that means now we can get these fam groups back in. We can get the events and all of these things. So now we're hearing Bahamar is hiring more. These are things that are happening to us, but are we happening to them? These are matters that are outside of our control to a certain extent. Curbing COVID-19 in country has helped a lot to reduce that number. But now we're told to brace for a possible 4th wave because it's happening in Europe. The cycle never ends. So how do we take advantage? The Minister of Health said today that they are preparing for a 4th wave. But when pressed with how are we preparing, we didn't get solid details on how are we preparing other than we are preparing for this 4th wave that is possible in country. So we got some things that we're dealing with. But the good news is we've moved from a 4 to a 3. I wonder where we rank in the global COVID index, right? Are we still 179? I don't know. But now I have to go and check. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, you're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM.
What happened to you? You look like you lost your paycheck.
Man, I just realized I got scammed out of a bunch of money. They said I won this contest and just needed me to send them some money so I could collect. I mean, to expedite something. Or was it to smooth the process?
Man, you're smarter than that. Protect yourself against scams and fraud by following these steps. If you know you didn't enter a competition, you can't win. Never play to receive a cash prize. If you're being asked, you're being scammed. Check trusted internet sites for verification of information given to you. Do not give your banking details to people you don't know. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. Monitor your bank account regularly for any questionable transactions. Get more information at getmoneysmartbahamas.com.
If you like Frito-Lay chips like Ruffles, Doritos, Cheetos Smart Food Popcorn, and Funyuns, you're gonna love getting a chance to win great instant prizes this Saturday, November 13th at Extra Value Oaksfield. Join the Frito-Lay Island Wholesale Team between 12 and 3 this Saturday. Make a qualifying purchase of any Frito-Lay's chips or Smart Food Popcorn, and you get a chance to spin and win great instant prizes. And don't forget to put your contact info on your receipt and drop it in the promo box at participating locations for a chance to win bicycles and hoverboards in the grand prize drawing November 27th. Frito-Lay chips, distributed by Island Wholesale.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
So I come to work today, meet my coworker in front of the computer crying. AC sky high, but she's sweating. I ask her what happened. Apparently, she ordered some stuff online, but she fretting with this VAT increase. I told her I cannot guarantee she won't feel the pinch of the increase, but I can guarantee low rates on her shipping fee from airborne freight and cargo services. Then she can ask me if I'm sure they still will give her low rates in spite of the increase. I ask her what but that she don't understand. If she look at the alphabet, she will see. A is A, B is B, C is C. That don't change. 1, 2, 3. I give the answer. Bye-bye.
Call Airborne Freight and Cargo Services at 377-0450 today.
It's the hit back with Nahaja Black. It's the hit back with Nahaja Black. It's the hit back with Nahaja Black. It's the hit back with Nahaja Black.
We're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. I hope that everybody's doing well, taking care of yourself, living your best life today. So it was a very interesting show. And for those who are tuning in online, I had to switch up because, of course, living this life, this wonderful life of BBL. Yeah, so we are only on radio at this point. Happy, though. There was a great interview there with Minister Halkitis. I think we learned a lot on that segment, but I think there's a lot more that has to be learned as well. And so I walked away knowing full well that I think we have a lot more to learn, a lot more that has to be shared with us in terms of the strategy, because that's what you're looking for, that when we know, okay, that you move from step A to step B, move from one point to the next point. This is what you should expect in this process of, of growth. So the debate, the supplemental budget will be debated next week. And I'm looking forward to hearing the debate. I'm looking forward to hearing the contributions on the budget itself. But then there's a lot of promises as well, a lot of promises on what we plan on doing and what we hope to do. Nothing that sounds too different from what the former administration said, Now, what we've seen is a better indication of intention, right? So coming out of the gate, the new government has gone ahead and said, these are certain things that we're going to do. Promise one was reduce VAT from 12 to 10%. That is important, even if not for what some would believe that, hey, it is a fiscal positive. Whereas I can see it and I understand it. Now that I've learned more, I understand their economic presentation of the VAT reduction. Whereas I don't necessarily see it as a stimulus the way that the government is presenting it. No VAT, no tax is ever really in any way a stimulus, but perhaps what it is and what it affords us to do is what it's been assigned, right? That we cut out all of the zero ratings, these very little to no variations in taxing across the board, make the inputting of data easier, the collection easier across the board, no zero ratings, no loopholes to get through here, make the whole taxation system much easier to deal with and delve into. That level of administration that is reduced and the collection quality would go up. That's the hope as well, so that the more revenue you collect, the more bills we can pay. Now, the substantive approaches, the things like the tangible business models, because tourism right now is what is happening to us, right? The more people that are coming in country, that's what's happening to us. The need for this, hoping that COVID doesn't attack us again, right? It doesn't rear its ugly head and the United States has to close its border or Europe closes its border. Those things are out of our control. So what are the things that we can control? One of the things that you look at when we went to COP26 was walking away. You would hope that the government walking away, the prime minister, when he walked away, was walking away armed with more information about how to extract revenue from the world, whilst we all seek to be better, what is the word that I want to be? Stewards of the planet. And then to also walk away having seen some business options and opportunities where we can say, okay, we are a carbon sink. The revenue from this carbon sink is X or Y. We know that we should now change our model of tourism to be more eco-friendly. How do we create sustainable housing? Maybe we become a shining place in the world where eco building, right? So the environmental type building of structures is one that we are known for. So when C. Allen comes on the show and he talks about smart housing, that it isn't seen as a far off proposition, but perhaps we can see that as our main economic proposition. Maybe we can be a Caribbean island that stands out where folks who come to vacation because they know that their conscience will be better off, their carbon footprint will be reduced, right? And so there are niches where we have to find out how to do this, how to build this. And then even in that, where we talk about booming economies and you see construction, and that is one way and one wave of economic growth. Is it sufficient? That sufficient type of economic growth that we need. I know, producer, make sure that we get that link to our guests who are supposed to be joining us online. I want to make sure I get them before the day is done. But there are things that are important in all of this conversation here that we need to pay attention to our economy, and that at no point, we should never let the conversation of our economy become bigger than our understanding. Make them dumb it down so we understand it, or elevate ourselves to make sure that they can't swing us when we talk about it. Things that we watch out for and we got to be mindful of and very vigilant of. And, I like so far what I see. I just haven't seen enough. And that's what are we, 2 months in? Okay. But I like what I see so far. I just need intentional movement right now. But I like what I see so far. I like this need for intentional movement. And I want to make sure that I get my guests on. So we'll make sure Chris, let's go to a break real quick. I need to make sure that we get our guests on that are supposed to be on right now. So let's take a quick break. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja, Black Guardian Radio. It's Friday, y'all, and it's a rainy Friday. If you're going home and your lights off, don't blame me, because I sitting here and doing the same thing with winging a prayer that this all stays on until 6 o'clock. So we'll take a quick break. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja, Black Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM. Let's see if we can get my guests on right after this.
Throughout our lifetime, we must all make decisions. No matter how we choose, the right one just needs to be made. Like having J.S. Johnson Insurance Agents and Brokers as your insurance partner. We've been serving the Bahamas for over 100 years. Whether you need home, motor, marine, or commercial insurance, make the right decision. Call 397-2100 or visit jsjohnson.com.
JS Johnson Insurance. Peace of mind.
We are working to protect our country, our people, and our livelihoods so that we can move forward. The vaccine is safe. The vaccine is easy. The vaccine is essential for our recovery. If we want to rebuild our economy, if we want to get back to our jobs, if we want to get back to our lives, our families, we must do this together.
Tips for keeping children healthy. Ensure the children are up to date with their vaccinations, including the flu vaccine. Make sure that your children practice preventative actions such as proper hand washing. Teach them to cover their nose and mouth with tissue or the inner elbow when coughing or sneezing. Encourage them to keep their hands away from their eyes, nose, and mouth. Explain that they should keep their distance from persons who are coughing and sneezing. Keep your children home when they are sick.
This message brought to you by Bahamas Ministry of Health in conjunction with Guardian Radio.
If you like Frito-Lay chips like Ruffles, Doritos, Cheetos Smart Food Popcorn, and Funyuns, you're gonna love getting a chance to win great instant prizes this Saturday, November 13th at Extra Value Oaksfield. Join the Frito-Lay Island Wholesale Team between 12 and 3 this Saturday. Make a qualifying purchase of any Frito-Lay's chips or Smart Food Popcorn, and you get a chance to spin and win great instant prizes. And don't forget to put your contact info on your receipt and drop it in the promo box at participating locations for a chance to win bicycles and hoverboards in the grand prize drawing November 27th. Frito-Lay Chips, distributed by Island Wholesale.
It's the hit back with Nahaja Black. It's the hit back with Nahaja Black. It's the hit back with Nahaja Black. It's the hit back with Nahaja Black.
Hey, it's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. Be safe on the road today, y'all. It's Friday. It's rainy. Some places it's dark because there ain't no light. Take your time. There's no need to rush. So the emergency orders are coming to an end tonight, right? Effective November 13th. There will be new rules, no new rules. There'll be just a new governing structure. Ministry of Health now is the boss of us, right? But they say it's medical professionals who will be the boss of us. I don't know if I'm feeling all of that. I need the economic professionals on that board. So, but we digress. But the minister and the Ministry of Health now have the powers that be. And so we'll have more counsel. And then we're hoping that it is more structured. And where there needs to be changes in rules, changes in laws, that they happen speedily until we are no longer in need of these laws. And I hope that it is known that when that time comes, when we no longer need these rules, right? And that they become just health guidelines in case of another, sort of pandemic somewhere another 100 years from now. So some things that are, I don't know if we call them change, but have adjusted just a bit. So again, no curfews. So this is one of those things. There won't be any curfews. No curfews or lockdowns effective Saturday, the 13th of November. There will be no curfews or lockdowns implemented under the new Health Services COVID-19 Prevention and Management and Community Spread Rules 2021, right? Weddings and funerals. A wedding may be conducted in a church or in a facility, provided that attendance is limited to 33% of the occupancy of the facility where the service is being conducted. All COVID-19 protocols established by the Bahamas Christian Council and approved by the Ministry of Health are adhered to. Funerals. A funeral service may be conducted indoors without the presence of the remains in an urn or a casket inside the church or facility, provided that attendance is limited to 33% of the occupancy. All COVID-19 protocols established by the Bahamas Christian Council. Graveside funerals. A funeral may be held at the graveside, provided that all attendees adhere to all COVID-19 protocols and any protocols established by the Bahamas Christian Council and approved by the Ministry of Health, applicable to the following islands: Acklins, Berry Islands, Crooked Islands, Eleuthera, Inagua, New Providence. Okay. Travel protocols. So they got different protocols for international and inter-island travel, cruise ship passengers. We can get into that another day. Restaurants, indoor dining. A restaurant may operate utilizing indoor dining provided that all patrons are fully vaccinated or have a valid negative rapid antigen test result. I wonder how long these are going to last. I wonder, and that's what I wanted to find out. What is the marker by which we determine that these rules don't apply? Because COVID will be with us. And at some point, I mean, we're just going to have to, is this the rule now? Everyone must be vaccinated. But I mean, hey, I know what I'm making noise for. Y'all know I'm vaccinated, so I'm straight. But for those who wish not to be vaccinated, is this now the new normal? We get rapid antigen tests all the time. The maximum seating is 50% of the seating capacity of the restaurant with a minimum of 30 square feet per person. Seating is arranged in accordance with physical distancing protocols. Yeah, I just think I'm looking forward to finding out more about these monoclonal options in terms of treatments. So we have these options here. You have monoclonal treatment protocols. You have Merck has a new single pill. Pfizer is saying it has this one magic dose pill now that can help eradicate or deal with COVID-19. It was the weirdest thing. They stopped the testing because it proved to be 85% effective. And I'm trying to figure, is that a good thing or a bad thing that they're saying? I don't know. They had me confused. But I think, at some point there has to be a time when you say that, okay, we've gone too far now. This is the new normal. That the new normal is that we in the world will walk around always with masks for fear of a disease that will continue to exist just as everything else. Or do we, listen, everyone get vaccinated and we hope that these mutations don't happen anymore. But we're seeing places that have, such high levels of vaccinations, but they still are getting variants that are knocking them down. I mean, what do we say to that? Are we to say that if we all get vaccinated, it will reduce any impact of variants? I don't think it's a fair assessment. However, we understand that getting vaccinated can serve as a great treatment in that you may not, your odds of getting deathly ill or dying is greatly reduced. It's a treatment, right? So I don't see a problem with it, but for some persons, they might be definitely with mRNA vaccines. They may find themselves allergic to it. And are we aware of the allergies? Are we aware of the different treatments for it? Not necessarily just waiting for it all to rim down. Can we say, okay, it is an allergic reaction, we treat it with antihistamines, et cetera, at some point? Like what is the structure, the real strategy and protocol? Is it just don't get COVID, everybody get vaccinated and hope that we are the outlier in the world where we don't get sick, even if we are a vaccinated country? So how long will these rules go on, right? How long are we, because, I mean, listen, we grew up as a vaccinated country. I never asked any questions when my mom gave me the MMR shot and I get tetanus shots. You never ask a question. We get up, we make sure our kids are vaccinated. So that is a part of life. We are just living in history. So 10, 20, 30, 50, 60, our children, our great-grandchildren our grandchildren will be telling tales of how we lived in a time, or our children, whatever, will be telling tales of how we lived in a time in this era when the world went crazy, when COVID-19 had us all emotionally arrested. But what will be their story? Will their story be 60 years from now that COVID-19 vaccinations are just normal? They are what they are. It comes right up there with all of your other vaccinations, and it is not as crazy or seen as crazy or elusive as it is now, or bewitching as it is now. Is that our story? We are just living in the moment in history. We are at ground zero when the world stood still. And we don't like being here. We prefer to be on TV. This can't be real for us. We cannot be the test subjects. We don't want the world to test on us. I get it. But now we have to determine what is the new normal. And are all of these rules and stipulations the new normal? Are we to accept it as the way of life, or should we push back? These are the philosophical questions I'm having. There are reasons by which we can question all of these things. And I think that it is healthy to question. Now, some people go on the other side, and they call the whole thing, and listen, I ain't got that kind of energy. I always tell people, I don't have the energy to go into debate if it's a hoax or not. I don't have that energy. If the world's powers determine that this is a hoax, or that this is a pandemic, which could quite possibly, I don't have the energy. I ain't gonna lie to you. I will not be that person who's in the trailer somewhere in Yosemite saying, I knew that the world was coming to an end. You know, anybody watch 2012? You know how stressed out you might be in knowing the date and the time when the world is coming to an end and somebody tell you it's next week. No, I'd rather just be on any other Tuesday. That one thing where ignorance is bliss. No, actually, I lie. I'd like to know if it was next week Tuesday, because I would find a ticket. I would go into some serious debt traveling the world, trying to outpace the sun. My point is in all of that we are in some interesting times. I mean, I'm literally doing a show on backup power, hoping that I can finish it whilst BPL continues to have lights out. This is, we're seeking for excellence. We want to be a better country, and we still can't get energy right. And then you can't eat indoors anymore unless you're vaccinated. So y'all better get that job, because you know y'all like to eat. But I'm not that confident that if we continue with all of the jabbing that it will stop COVID-19. But what I am confident in is that we are seeing a great reduction in the amount of cases that are COVID-19 positive. And I think that it's important too, that counting cases is like we're trying to count the flu. And I think we need to figure out a way not to create or can maintain this level of hysteria, because who is it helpful for? I think it's important we know, but I don't know if we necessarily need to keep counting cases. So it's a fascinating thing. It is changing my consideration of the entire picture the more you live through it. And I think there's a lot of COVID fatigue. And now I don't know if necessarily, I do believe that we needed to take this away from all of this power out of the hands of one man. And when you're nervous about who the character of the man or woman who would have this power, it's important that we did do this shift. But are you confident that the shifting has given us more freedoms from a despot type leader? Or what if the mindset of the leader is still with the masses? So then we move from one person, but it wasn't the person, it was the mentality. So then are we certain? And so, of course, there's a lot of rule, there's a lot of power still vested on how we work, but our civil liberties, no curfews or lockdowns. We like that. For me, it didn't matter anyway. I always was home a certain time. It didn't matter. And somehow I feel like I've already been conditioned. So when 9 o'clock come, why am I still on the road? I don't do Just Road. That was for Clint. Does he still do Just Road? Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I want us all to be in mindful, just in a mindful place. And I think that that's where I've been in recent weeks. Very mindful. What is the plan for your life? Because this world is spinning, decisions are being made, and are the decisions being made, how do they impact you and your family and your children? Are you living your best life? What does your best life look like? Because the world is revolving and decisions are being made. Are you in the picture of other people's decisions? So that if you're not sure, then start creating your own pictures for your own life. Because all I see is a lot of things moving past and shooting across our heads, is moving daily. But are you moving? Are you happy? If the world comes to an end tomorrow, would you be satisfied and fulfilled? If we got locked down with another COVID, could you exist in another of that space? What is your mental health? What is your physical health? What is your spiritual health? All of these things matter. We could watch politicians every day, all day, and you'd be stressed out. And I think that is where, when we look at it, sitting here, and I'm all emotional, all not emotional, I'm all contemplative. I think that we all should be in that state of mind, contemplating the changes we want in our personal lives, because that's what matters. And we watch the politicians for the policies that they make that affects your personal life. We fix our families so that our children are not a burden on society, because that helps the politicians make better policies when our people are not broken. We got to go. It's Friday, y'all. You're listening to The Hit Bag with Nahaja, Black Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM. Stay safe on those streets, y'all. Be safe at home. Enjoy your weekend. Laugh. Oh, there's some good movies that are coming on Disney Plus. Y'all see that? And Netflix just did one too, Burn Notice. I got a lot of stuff to watch this weekend. Netflix and chill, y'all. I'm out. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black Guardian Radio 96.9 FM.